Good evening, Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. I am Scott, Huge Pop. The next to me is JB from JB Wrestling for Life. Tonight's guest on the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. This guy has held many titles in his short career. I am certain he could wreak havoc on any of one of his opponents. I wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley. He is none other than the big bad bull, Angus Keyser. What's going on, my guy?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing good, man. Been busy. We work with children, so my day is stacked with doing stuff with foster kids. And I will, like I told Justin before, and I tell everybody, I take this hour or so to be just a self-care, to just unwind, get away from the reality. And as fans of wrestling, I thank you. I want to thank you first and foremost to creating that stuff, the matches you guys go through, to give us fans that type of event to just forget about what's really happening in our lives for that moment in time. And I thank you guys for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you guys for being the ones that we do it for.
You're welcome, man. So can you tell us, what was the moment you decided that you wanted to become a wrestler? Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I think I kind of go the same story that most wrestlers do. Like, I grew up watching WCW and all that stuff, and the first time I'd ever seen a guy by the name of Goldberg, which I know a lot of people aren't super fans about Goldberg and all that stuff, but the biggest reason why I loved Goldberg was because he kind of looked like my dad at the time. And it was actually really funny because, like, my dad was a trucker. And so my dad, when he'd go leave and all that stuff, he'd be gone. And then I'd put on the TV, there was Goldberg. I'm like, that's my dad. And then it would kind of fade out whenever he'd get home. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not my dad. That's not. Where are the muscles? Where's the cool looking tattoo and all? Where's the championship belt? What's going on? Why are we still in BF Iowa?
Nice. So where did you start training in your career?
I started training with the Rugged Pro Wrestling Forge in Marshalltown, Iowa. Luckily, I got to actually not really luckily. I kind of got to experience what the training facility was before the Forge was the Forge. We actually were training in a little place in Marshalltown called the Salvation Army. And we gather there once a week, sometimes more than once a week, just to, learn the fabulous art that is professional wrestling. Sometimes it was there, sometimes it was, venues that we were having matches at. I know that we were doing at least one training session at a place in Tama, Iowa, which I believe on February 22nd we're going to be coming back there again for a 21 plus show. Don't quote me, because I feel like there has been already advertisements already for that, or not. I don't know. And then there's been times where we did training in the driveway of the location of the Forge before the Forge was the Forge. I know that's a very confusing thing, but yeah, no. That was one of the days. Fun little story, a horrible story actually. One of the first times that we had trained there and all stuff, I thought, I was like, well, pro wrestler needs tan, right? I need to get a tan. And so I got this coconut island thingy. I just put it on once. Apparently I'm supposed to put that on like every 8 minutes, never to put it on again. By the end of the day, I was so sunburnt I couldn't sleep that night. And we had actually gotten booked for a show in Sioux City that we had to go do the next day.
Wow.
So luckily,
all sunburned and stuff.
Oh yeah, sunburnt.
Oh, damn.
sunburnt, and it was just horrible. And we wrestled Flex Appeal. It was me and my buddy Andy, your boy Andy. We faced off against Tyler Jones and Austin Fouts. Losing effort, but they kind of had an advantage because we were sunburnt to death.
That would not be fun, I don't think.
No.
So is training hard? Can you tell the fans how difficult training is? And still today, is it just a difficult thing to stay into, or how does that go?
Well, for some, it is hard, and there are actually some hard bits and pieces to it. But like when I first started training, my thought process was it's go time. And whenever I got into it, like I kind of figured like, okay, this is what to expect. This is what to expect. This is what to expect. And whenever it happened, I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go. I think the hardest thing for me being a big guy was the cardio aspect. But like the thought process of mine that came to be was you need to push yourself. You need to push yourself. You need to push yourself. You can't make yourself look bad in front of, Austin, the trainers and all that stuff. You can't, look bad in front of the trainees. You gotta push yourself to make yourself look not weak.
Okay.
And so there were definitely some hard spots, but like I think whenever you really bear down and figure out like what to expect and what to get yourself to a physical standpoint, it eventually becomes efficient at barrel.
Okay. Justin, do you have anything for Mr. Keyser?
Oh man, where do I start with Mr. Keyser? Let me see. No, since what made you turn, you were a heel for a while, and what made you turn to a heel to now a face?
Well, I do kind of remember the heel days and all that stuff, and it was. I'm not gonna lie, it was a smidgen fun because got to beat the crap out of people, be the top dog. But I think the biggest reason why I ended up turning face was because I honestly looked at there's an event on YouTube.com at the Rugged Pro YouTube channel called Good Riddance. And I had it was me defending the Rugged Pro Heritage Championship against 4 other guys: Zeke Dynamics, who ultimately won the match, Adam Love, Ray XI, and your boy Andy. And I had lost. I wasn't pinned, but I lost, and I was ticked off. I was like, no, I didn't get pinned. I didn't lose. That title's still mine. And I was about to strip that thing clean out of Zeke's hands and just whack him over the head with it. But then I saw out in the small bit of crowd that we had a very small crowd at the Forge and all that stuff. And I saw my kids. And one in particular was my oldest one. Her name is Annabelle. And she was just in tears, and she's just looking at me with those tears going, "No, Daddy." And I'm like, oh my God. Right. And it's like, so like the biggest thing that really got to me was, what am I doing setting an example for them? It's like the biggest reason why I got into pro wrestling to begin with was, of course, to be a wrestler, be a pro wrestler, beat the crap out of people. But whenever I had kids, it became more really about them. It became more of a motivational thing that it doesn't matter what happens in life, what obstacles throw at you. You could have children that not necessarily quote unquote get in the way, but at the same time, they kind of, the fact that, finances, time, everything, exhaustion, effort, energy, a lot of it goes to the children. And so, your dreams and all that stuff kind of get to put to the back burner. But I wanted to teach them that no matter what, you can achieve your goals, you can achieve your dreams, and you can be whatever the hell you want to be.
Right.
So it's like, and once I started getting more into a groove, I was like, yeah, this actually kind of feels pretty good being a good guy and all that stuff. It started being more about like doing it for the younger folk, doing it for the people that are over here like, I want to be a pro wrestler too. It's like, but I'm not necessarily the ideal, picture of what a pro wrestler is supposed to be. So like, well, look at me. I'm a big old fat dude that, can sometimes pick up people. But it's like, I ultimately just decided I wanted to be that kind of person for people to look up to and think, I want to be just like that someday.
Well, that's a great story, man. That's a great question, Justin. Thanks for that question, and thanks, Angus, for your answer. All right, I have some questions that's going to talk about your early career, but I'm just going to throw this out there because I like to stir the pot a little bit. Several times in the last 10 minutes, you said your boy Andy. Can you elaborate on who Mr. Andy is and why he's your boy and not yours? What's going on with that?
Well, Andy that's his little nickname. The whole "ya boy" thing is literally just like his nickname.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think it's more of a like a moniker, or I feel like it's one of those things that he wants people to what's the word? Like he wants to be the everybody person, like the person that anybody could connect to, anybody could cheer for. If you've never been to a wrestling show once in your life, your boy is the boy for the job, to be the one that you look up to cheer for and all that stuff. I mean, granted, that kind of takes a little bit of spotlight for me, but he's still my friend, and I encourage my friends to do the best that they can, as long as save a little bit of spotlight for me.
So there's no animosity or nothing like that between you two?
Oh, no. Okay. I know that there was at one point in time when I was I had my head stuck up my rear and all that stuff, that we kind of got into disputes and all that stuff. Had a couple matches for the Heritage Championship, but all in all, he's a really cool dude. He trained with me. We've traveled together. We've slept in vehicles together. We've slept in his apartment, my house, the hotels, just you name it. We've really had to scratch by to try and keep this dream alive.
Nice. I got to shout out my mom and dad. My mom and dad are watching. They said, "Hey guys, so say hi to Mr. and Mrs. Rogers. How you guys doing?" Thank you, mom and dad.
Hi, Mr. Rogers. How you doing?
Thanks for the support, my mom and dad. Love them dearly. I spent 4 months with them in Florida, and they went home in the end of March. So, yeah. So, thanks guys for stopping by. Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up, and were they the ones that influenced you the most on what path to take along your wrestling?
Well, I'd have to say that I actually kind of had a 2-part deal with wrestling and all that stuff. There was the first part was around like my childhood, which I was only allowed to watch WCW, so I had people like Sting, like Goldberg, Booker T. Not so necessarily much NWO, because like my family were kind of like a little bit hardcore Christians and all that stuff, and they were, they weren't too happy about the whole NWO thing because apparently it says something in the Bible about the New World Order, and it's like it's just wrestling. It's not the end of the world, I promise. Um, but those were the kind of people that I looked up to, and then second grade, I had gotten into a really bad fight, and my dad was like, "Okay, so you got into a fight." I mean, granted, technically speaking, I was defending myself, little Angus being the little calf thing, play on words, puns,
Okay.
hilarious.
Yes.
And he's like, "Well, you got in trouble, you got into a fight, and I'm gonna take away your action figures, your video games, and your wrestling." And my mom was like, "There ain't no way that you're actually punishing him. He was defending himself." It was like, "I'm not letting you do that." And my dad was like, "Fine, I guess, you could have your action figures, you could have your video games. But as long as I have a say so, there ain't going to be wrestling on the TV anytime soon." So I'm like, "Okay, fine. I guess that's fine. Just watch wrestling when I'm allowed to again." And I think it was like 2 months later, he was like, "Yeah, I guess we could watch wrestling again." I go to flip onto, I think the network was TNT that WCW was on, or either that or TNN when it was TNN at one point in time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there. And I had no idea what the hell was going on. Like, where's Goldberg? Where's Sting? Where's Booker T? Where's WCW? And at that time, I had not realized that it was around the same time of the Invasion angle.
Yeah.
And I wasn't allowed to watch WWF or WWE or whatever because my parents thought it too extremely inappropriate for blood and cussing and partial nudity, the whole hardcore Christian thing.
Right.
Which, I mean, I understand, I guess, at one point in time because, they're trying to shield my mind from the outside world and potentially become corrupted at a very young age or something like that, or corrupted, But
Yeah.
so from second grade to ninth grade, there was no wrestling at all. Like, I had the dreams of being a pro wrestler was gone. I had no idea what I wanted to be. I had a couple ideas. Like, I was playing Mortal Kombat at the time, and I was like, maybe I could be a game developer. But all my ideas came from Mortal Kombat and nothing original. I was listening to music, and I would listen to bands like Slipknot and stuff. I was like, maybe I could start a band, but all of my ideas were similar to Slipknot, nothing original. And then I was watching, it was around that time that blue collar comedy was actually getting really popular with, Foxworthy, Larry the Cable Guy, and all that stuff. Yep. I was like, maybe I could be a comedian. But all of my jokes were similar to them, nothing original. So I was like, what am I supposed to do, man? And right around like ninth grade and all that stuff, my family had separated because of unfortunate reasons and all that stuff. And I was left once again having absolutely nothing going on in my life and nothing to look forward to, nothing at all. And I was 14 years old, and I was just trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? I've got no escape. I don't have mom, I don't have dad, I don't have my sisters. They're out doing their own thing, and I'm kind of left behind to figure out my own thing. And then I saw a commercial for a match that featured Dilip Singh, better known as the Great Khali. And around that time, I was very intrigued by Mr. Singh because of his involvement in the Adam Sandler version of The Longest Yard.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, he's a wrestler? That is insane. And then right. I saw that this match was a 6-man elimination chamber match. And apparently this match was being hosted at the pay-per-view No Way Out in 2008. Yep. I was like, dude, I got to watch this match because this guy's going to kill everybody. And I'm like, I can't pay the, how much of it was. I think it was like $60 or $70 at the time for pay-per-view. And my stepbrother, he's like, hey, my mom, she actually does something that is considerably, illegal. I mean, except of course she didn't, do it for the intent to sell or anything like that. But she'd order the pay-per-view and then she'd record it. I was like, you want me to record it for you? And I'm like, sure, as long as I don't get out of jail. So then here I am with this tape of No Way Out 2008. And the very first match that I saw was CM Punk versus Chavo Guerrero for the ECW championship.
Yeah.
And just like that, the fire was relit and I was hooked. So as far as like my childhood goes, I would say if I had to pick one person, it would probably be Goldberg at the time. But like as I matured and started grasping the idea of like things like what wrestling really was, the technicality, the chemistry, the psychology behind it and all that stuff, I started looking up to more people like Batista, like Triple H, like Undertaker, like CM Punk. And I was like, these guys know what the hell they're doing, and that's exactly what I want to do.
Nice. CM Punk's one of my favorites, so I know where you're coming from. He's just good in the ring, good everywhere else. So, you ever get tired of constantly working shows?
There actually are a couple times where I'm like, I'd like to have a day off or weekend off rather that I don't have to, drive 2 to 6 to 7 to 12 hours one way, But at the same time too, I was like, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I really wouldn't trade it for anything. Like before doing pro wrestling, I was a forklift driver.
Okay.
And I had done that for like 5 years. And let me tell you, driving a forklift for 5 years sucks. Like, I mean, it's fun at one point because like you get to drive a thing that gets to pick up things from high above the sky and all that stuff. But like those things don't have suspension. So if you hit a bump, that's going straight up your back and it's not fun at all. But like yeah, I wouldn't trade pro wrestling for anything, regardless of how beat up I am or how in the hole it puts me sometimes, and or how repetitive it gets, how consistent it gets. Because I could, it's a hell of a lot better than sitting back, sitting on my hands, going, it could have been me.
Yeah. JB?
Angus. No, like what would be your toughest opponent in rugged pro wrestling ever since wrestling?
That is a great question. I have been in this going on this Saturday. I will be stepping into the ring for the 82nd time in the past 3 years. And as far as like who my toughest opponent was, it's extremely tough because I've been in the ring with people at like Joey Avalon, who's smooth like butter and just tougher than nails. And then you've got somebody like Jimmy Wild, who I've been in the ring with, and like he's just so damn quick and so hard. As small as he is, and no offense at all, he hits harder than almost anybody that I've been in the ring with. But as far as like toughest opponent was, it's extremely tough. If I had to pick, I'd have to say Joey. I'd have to say Joey Avalon, because the guy, almost every single time that I tried to get momentum in our match, he would cut me right back down, and he would turn the momentum off, and he would just try, like, I would be on the ground and he literally just do whatever the hell he wanted, because it's easy pickings whenever the big guy's on the ground. And he would keep me there until I tried to find some kind of momentum getting back up, and it was show over from there.
Good question. Good question. So talking about toughest guy, let's talk about your opponent, Jamison McGregor, coming up. Is he going to be a tough guy?
I am both very much looking forward to this match and also very looking forward to this match being over, because I have watched Jamison McGregor go from where he was to where he is now, and the guy personifies impressive. The guy personifies hard work, and he's an incredibly impressive dude. And when we first met each other, right? This was in November 2020, and we both looked at each other and we're like, "Holy crap, this guy's huge!" And we thought to ourselves, like, we're gonna have to get in the ring one of these days, and we're gonna have to put on one of the biggest hoss fights in the world. And that was November 2020. And we haven't been able to get in the ring at all with each other since then. And now we're finally going to be able to get to there. You look at him and you see that he's lost a considerable amount of weight. He's bulked up to no end. Dude looks like he could literally take somebody's head off with his bare hands. And then you've got me, who of course has improved. I don't necessarily know about what lost weight, but I've been trying. I've been trying to eat a salad here and there, hidden beneath a layer of fried foods.
There you go. I got the same regimen.
Exactly. Your harshest critic is yourself. Your harshest critic is yourself. So there are times where I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't do good this time. Maybe I really need to, work on the axle grease and all that stuff. Maybe I should, take a moment and take a break or something like that. But then I get people like Austin Fouts, or I get people like Pat Powers, or people all over the place who are saying, dude, for a big guy like you, because the last time I weighed myself, which that weight scale is such a devil and all that stuff, the last time I weighed myself was last May, and it was 454.7 pounds. And for a 450 plus pound dude, I've been told that I shouldn't be moving the way I do. I shouldn't be able to do the things that I do in the ring. And people are blown away that I am able to do the things that I'm able to do. And not to pat myself on the back. Well, I definitely don't believe it, but I've been told before, saying that I've been told before. Sorry if I get a little choked up a little bit, but they said that I was their favorite big man in the past few years to step into the ring. That's crazy. That's and good. I'm like, wow, like I must be doing something right if I'm getting told by people like that I'm a damn good big guy wrestler in years. So with that in mind, I think that me versus Jamison McGregor will definitely be a hoss fight to remember. And if people don't have it's at the Forge, so it's going to be limited capacity and all stuff, but it also will be, I believe it's going to be live streamed as well. Don't quote me on that though. But if it's one of those things that if you miss it, you've got nobody but yourself to blame, because it's going to be one of those matches that you're going to want to see.
Okay. So I'm going to pay attention to the links to see if I can get a chance to watch the live stream or something like that. So
Definitely.
Here's a good question. Is wrestling in the Indies a luxurious life? And can you talk about the car rides and the stuff that doesn't make it a luxurious life? I had to ask that question. I know the answer, but I'm going to get your viewpoint on how luxurious living, because I work with kids and they think just because you're a pro wrestler, you got it made in the shade. So,
I hear you.
So I had to ask that for the kids.
It's all good. So, and I guess in a short answer, no. But at the same time too, like I've read all the magazines for WWE magazine. I've read all the interviews. I've watched all the interviews online and all that stuff. And one thing that stuck out to me was something, I believe it was Edge, who said that he had gotten one of the best pieces of advice they had ever gotten, and it was from Bret Hart, who said, "Never cheat yourself out of a good bed." And so, like, if I have a little bit of extra, moolah and all stuff, if I had to choose between a good meal and a good bed, I'd go for the bed. Because I I might be hungry in the morning, but in the morning, Casey's general store will be open, and you can get yourself some pizza, and that's a gift from God in and of itself. But there have been plenty of times where that wasn't necessarily the case. Like, don't have enough cha-ching in the pocket, either that or I didn't get paid, enough from a wrestling show and all that stuff. And luckily, I have the luxury of having a van, a particularly good van. It's a 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan, and it's got those stow and go seats. So
Okay.
I could just fold those down. And I used to actually have a mattress that I would put in the back and all that stuff. And those shows that are 3+ on to 7 hours, one way and all that stuff, I just pull into a gas station and be like, "Hey, I'm in the red van. I'm gonna park out that way. Is that cool if I just park there and go to sleep? I'll be gone in the morning." And they're like, "Oh yeah, definitely." And honestly, sometimes that bed was a million times better than most of the hotel rooms that I've been to. And this is speaking from okay, so I wouldn't necessarily compare it to a Hilton Inn or something like that, because I've definitely stayed at Hilton and it's oh, so amazing, especially after getting beat up and slammed around and all that stuff, which is rare, but it's not impossible. No, as far as lodging goes, for that's there's that. But as far as food goes, I feel like sometimes if I have the it's one of those, if I have the opportunity to do it, I'm gonna if I'm out here and there's this really nice steakhouse or something like that, I'm gonna treat myself like a king.
Right.
Last year I had a show in Racine, Wisconsin, which from my place is about almost 8 hours one way.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm gonna make this worth my while. And there was this one place, I can't, word for word say what it was, but it was this steakhouse right next to the river. And it was nighttime, so I didn't necessarily get to see the water or anything like that. But had it been daytime, we would have had a fantastic view. And I'm okay, so this is what I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have filet mignon with 2 shrimp skewers. I'm gonna get a lobster tail, and I was eating like I was gonna get put put down.
Nice.
So I was if I'm gonna have to spend an hour, not an hour, 8 hours one way and then, have to turn around, drive another 8 hours the other way, I'm gonna make it worth my while.
Right. Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
That's it's a little tough because, I feel like the average wrestler would say, "Oh, I'd love to be in WWE or AEW or wherever and all that stuff." As much as I would love to be in WWE or AEW or Impact or, wherever and all that stuff, I hope to see myself 10 years from now being able to give back to those who are trying to get into pro wrestling as much as humanly possible. Like, you've got people in this industry that have been here for 10 years, 20 years, and all that stuff. You've got people like some of the people that have influenced me and have given me advice, have given me leadership, have been the person to hold, like, figuratively hold my hand and show me how to be a better pro wrestler, have been people like Donnie Pepper Cricket, Joey Daniels. Oh man, and the list goes on, but I can't think of any right now.
Right.
But it's like I kind of want to, if I'm not in like one of those major promotions, I'd like to be just like them, giving back to the younger folk, trying to get into pro wrestling, trying to figure out, okay, what should I do better? How do I do this better? How do I do that better? Should I stop doing this? Should I start doing this? How do I become sharper in the ring? What should I do? And I just, that's where I would want to see myself in 10 years.
Got a guy on Johnny Cass. He's a wrestler out of Illinois, I think. Nothing wrong with treating yourself on trips like that. Well deserved. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of relatively knowing Mr. Johnny Cass. I think I've met him once. We weren't able to really talk all that much because he had his daughters with him, but he seems like a really cool guy. He really, that title that he has intrigues me a little bit. So,
whoa, okay, okay, Johnny Cass. I should bring him on. Maybe I will. Hold up.
Hey,
just a second. Give me a chance. Give me a second.
Cool.
We'll see if he comes aboard. We'll have to have this. If he comes on board, we'll have to have this discussion. So we'll wait for him to come on board. Johnny, I just sent you to your John Pike thing. So, go ahead, JB. What got any?
Yeah, paying dues. Like ever since you've been wrestling, like have you paid your dues? Like setting up the ring, like doing other things with Rugged. You know what I mean? Like showing these younger talent in Rugged, like way. You know what I'm saying? So like paying your dues like that. Like, what do you do?
As far as paying dues go, I'm still to this day paying dues because that's how you earn your keep. That's how you earn your spot. That's how you get eyes on you, actually, as well. One of the biggest things that I preach to the because I like to stay a little bit involved with the students of the Forge as well. Try to give a little bit of advice. I don't have a whole lot of advice, but like if I have any, I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna spread it. But the one thing that I like to preach about the most is if you really, really, really want to get yourself out there and booked and all that stuff, just buy a ticket. Buy a ticket, go there, introduce yourself to the promoter if you can, if you're able to. Be of service. Be of service. Put yourself out there. Say, hey, if you need anything, I'm right here. I could definitely help if you need me for anything. definitely have your gear with you, and because you never know if an opportunity is just going to fall in your lap and all that stuff, and then boom, you're booked on the show because you decided that you were going to be selfless and put the company before yourself. um you know as far as like paying dues go in general, there's help setting up, putting up chairs, setting up the stage, the displays, the barricades, definitely the ring. Well, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a ring general, but the Rugged Pro Wrestling ring right now, I think I could probably put that together in my sleep with how many times I've had to do that. Definitely because of the simple fact that we didn't have, whenever me and Andy and them were training, we didn't have the ring in one place like the future Forge students do now, except for whenever we go on the road and we have to pack it up. We had to load it up in the local U-Haul. We had to unload it, get our training done, load it back onto the truck, unload it, and that was the entirety of our day. So like, it kind of started becoming second nature. I feel like there are other ways of paying your dues as well. Sometimes it's one of those, you have to do it, you have to do it, you have to do it. And then there are other times where you kind of you see somebody who's higher up on the card than you, and like, take for example, at Rugged Mania, I had my merch set up and all that stuff, and I looked over, I couldn't help but notice that Jay Fowler was setting up his merch in like the darkest corner next to the men's bathroom, like out of sight practically. And it was one of those, I feel like, since he's such a megastar right now and he's soaring so high, like, he deserves my spot a hell of a lot more than I do. So I'm like, Mr. Fowler, would you like to put your stuff where mine is? He's like, I mean, are you sure? I'm like, absolutely. Because it's like, I know that it's one of those like personal mental things that will come in time. And the mentality that I have is, if I do it now, someone else down the line will want to do it for me. And like, I wasn't expecting anything. It was purely out of respect. Yeah, another time I was just sitting down backstage of Rugged Mania, and Major League Wrestling heavyweight champion of the world, Alex Hammerstone, humongous dude, just ripped from the head to his toes, comes in and he's shaking everybody's hand. And I'm like, holy crap, look at this dude. And he's shaking hands and he's kind of looking around, surveying the room where he could, put his stuff, where he could get settled in. And I'm like, I know what I need to do. So I go, Mr. Hammerstone, would you like my chair? And he says, you sure, man? I just need it for my boots. I'm like, dude, you can have it. I promise. Because it goes back to that, it just feels like I need to do it. It's one of those things that you need to do it, both paying dues wise and respect wise, because it's all like, if I do it for him, one of these days, further down the line, somebody's going to do it for me.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's the obligatory, I hope I said that right, paying dues, and then there's the ones that your heart and your mind feel, tell you, hey, that's how you pay your dues as well.
So I'm gonna let Johnny Cass in here, but we're gonna keep it at a load until the end. We're gonna have you. There he is. So welcome to the show, Johnny Cass. To go
How's
along
it
with
going?
what just good. The guy to your right has a few words for you, so we'll get to that in a bit. So if you can keep your composure, you guys keep it easy, and we'll get there. Okay. How important is the fan interactions and the merch tables for you personally?
I feel like the fan definitely comes first. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that they decided to use their hard-earned money to come and see you along with the others and all that stuff, there'd be no reason to spend all of your money, your own money, to order that merch and have it set out there. You wouldn't be able to sell anything. You wouldn't be able to wrestle at all. So it definitely is fan comes first. I don't believe I've encountered a fan interaction. Oh wait, no, I have, but like when I was heel. But you know, it was still one of those fan comes first. Oh, you want a picture? Let's take a picture. When I was a heel, I'm like, fine. I guess we'll take a freaking picture. Let's go, whatever. And I'd probably do some, you know, when everybody's all smiling and all that stuff, I like to just be like, this big old smug face. But yeah, definitely, the fan comes first because they're the customer, and I know it's been agreed to disagree over the years, but you know, as far as wrestling goes, yes, the customer is always right. Of course in the right aspects, because like you hear the stories of wrestlers being heckled at airports and, you know, hotels, and thank God I haven't had that interaction yet.
Right.
But as far as the merch table goes, the fan always comes first. If the fan ain't happy, you're more than likely not going to get happy because you don't get their money.
So we got this guy I hear about at Rugged Pro Wrestling. He shows up every Rugged Pro Wrestling, and he's probably every Rugged Pro Wrestling wrestler's favorite fan. Do you have a favorite fan? I mean, there's one sitting right above you. Let's go, baby, Justin Bunny. Can you talk about Justin Bunny? What is it like to be around a guy that has that much energy?
I tell you what, I want to know what he drinks in the morning. I want to know what he eats, drinks during, you know, lunch breaks or anything like that. I want to know what he does because I swear to God, he is the human version of the Energizer Bunny. I've seen him freaking go from opening bell to main event, just on he's never sitting down. He's always up. He's bouncing around. He's getting the crowd as loud as humanly possible. And it's like, holy crap. Like, if I could have his energy, that'd be phenomenal, because there are days where I wake up and I'm like, I can't wait to go back to bed. So,
nice, yeah.
But as far as, like, you know, favorite fan goes, there was this one kid, and I got to see him for the first time in a while, actually. I believe his name is John, and he was this young kid, and he was the first guy ever to high five me, want to high five me, want to fist bump, want to get a picture, want to cheer me. And even when I was the baddest of bads, you know, he was still right there, like, you got this, Angus. Let's go, man. Let's high five. And I would try my best to hide it a little bit, but I'd kind of just like walk by, give everybody the evil eye and all this stuff, and I'd just go, whoosh, give him a whole high five, you know, out of camera view.
Nice.
No, it was really cool, because like, I don't remember necessarily, but he had a really bad health issue a year or two back, and like ever since then, just seeing him bright and healthy and all that stuff. It's like it makes my heart very happy to see him.
Nice. Can you talk about your experience with PWP and your title run as a heavyweight champion over there? That guy right there, right?
So I have actually not held the PWP heavyweight championship.
Oh,
I
whoops,
was
my bad.
very close. Oh, it's okay. I was very close into winning the PWP heavyweight championship. Unfortunately, on that night, Pat Powers was just a little bit better, I guess.
Okay.
As far as like my experience with PWP, it's been a wild one, honestly. I've gotten to be in the ring with people like Joey Daniels, like Pat Powers, other people like Moonshine Russell, Jack Darling. I even got into the ring for the first time with Lars Metzger, and that dude ain't nobody to mess with. Like, I've been speared by so many people in the past 3 years. This guy, when he spears you, it almost feels like he takes a piece of your soul with him.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's definitely one of those moments where you're like, okay, I need to sit down, because if I don't, I'm gonna die.
Yep. No thanks. Justin, you have any more questions? I got a couple more, and then I got to deal with this guy below me.
Uh-oh.
So you're talking about me, me going to the Rugged shows. Hey, I have booed you, but at the same time, having fun as a fan because, like, I support Rugged Pro Wrestling and I love Rugged Pro Wrestling. I mean, every time Angus sees me, I mean, no matter if he was a heel, I was booing him. But every time I try to take a picture with him, he had that heel face on. But he knows. I mean, you know, I mean, it's just awesome seeing you guys at shows. And at this last show, I wanted to ask, how did it feel to be in that ladder match? I mean, what was that? The crowd and like the match, like how did that feel overall?
It was a lot to absorb, because not only was it the Rise to the Top ladder match, it was also my very first ladder match ever. It was the main event of Rugged Mania, and it was in front of such a big crowd. Like, I feel like that was the biggest crowd that Marshalltown has ever pulled. Like, it was almost, if I hadn't been doing this for 3 years, I would have been crapping myself. Like, it was astonishing. There was people among people. It was a sea of people. But I feel like I've gotten myself into such a mentality that it doesn't matter if it's 10 people. It doesn't matter if it's 100 people. It doesn't matter if it's 1,000 people. Your job is to get into the ring, put on a good show. It doesn't matter what the outcome is at the end of the match. It's what you do from the opening bell to the ending bell that matters. Those people paid to see you and your opponent, give them their money's worth. So that's exactly what I did. Came up a little short. I've been dwelling on it a little bit too, because like I don't know if you guys saw my promo for Rugged Mania, but I was saying a dream was gonna come true with me stepping into the ring for the main event. A goal was going to be achieved by winning the briefcase, and a destiny was going to be fulfilled, cashing in on the heavyweight title. And only one of those things happened. And it's a very, it hits you really hard when you end up not being that guy at the end of the night. But what's the most important thing to do, especially as any kind of pro wrestler, any kind of athlete and all that stuff. And I think Triple H said it better. Today, you could be depressed about it. You could be bummed out about it. You could be angry. You could be pissed, whatever. The next day, that's when you start back on your path to being the number one guy in the business and all stuff. And right now, the number one guy is Jay Fowler. He was able to beat Lars Metzger for the heavyweight title. And that's a hard set of buns to deal with and all that stuff. But he, it's lonely at the top, and there's only room for one person, and I kind of technically count as two, so who knows?
So I'm gonna I call it name drop, where I say some names and just give me a quick response. So we already went. Jay Fowler, went through that. JT Energy, ever met up with that guy?
I have had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Energy. I have not had a match with him, but I would love to in the nearest future.
Alex Kane from MLW. He went up against Hammerstein a couple of months ago, I guess. I don't know if that name rings a bell.
Not entirely.
Okay.
I'd have to.
Adam Love, Rugged Pro Wrestling. Adam Love. Not to throw you under the bus, but
it's all good. Me and him have sewn up what we end up breaking in February last year. We're really good friends now, and honestly he seemed getting into the ring with him was like how it felt, wrestling with my stepbrothers in the backyard wrestling days.
Right.
Like it was genuine. And it was awesome, pure and simple. Would go toe to toe against him, with him, any day of the week.
I saved this name for last. You can say pass on it, or I think Rodeo Ron Landels.
Oh man,
pass it if you want. I'm good.
Hey, no, it's fine. It's fine because me and him. Might get a little choked up. Might get a little choked up. I don't want to pass it because he deserves it. He deserves a million fold. I trained with him, and God, he was so weird. He was so into it. Like, oh man. You knew for a fact that he wanted to do something big in wrestling. And I wish he was able to do something, because he was on his way to the Old Wine Show in February, and he was going to do something, and it was so small. But in retrospect, it was so huge. I think he was like gonna try and do like this open challenge thing, where current Rugged Pro star Colin Anthony was gonna answer the call, and it was gonna be an enormous moment. And it unfortunately ended up not happening, and he was one of the guys. Whew. Pardon me.
No, you're good, man. I just I hear what you're saying. He deserves the respect, and
definitely.
That's one reason I don't want to. I want to give respect where respect's due.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
If he was still here, he'd definitely be one of those guys that. Because I've had the pleasure of teaming with him in 3XW, and it was so shocking. I know you wanted a quick response, and I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. No, you're good.
Like it was actually really funny because we were joking around and all that stuff, and I found out that I was gonna end up teaming up with him, and I'm like, oh God. Okay, let's see what kind of little train wreck is gonna happen. And when he got into the ring, he put on a pretty good clinic. Like he was grabbing people with drop toe holds, ankle locks, freaking all these kind of holds and all that stuff. And I'm like, where the hell did this come from?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But no, God rest his soul. And, you know, he definitely, I'm always thinking about him every single day. I've got a funny, quick story real quick, and I'll promise I'll give it back to you. Back in October of 2021, I had bought a little clown nose that, you know, it's in the Halloween section of Walmart. And I wanted to give it to him so badly, but it's like every single time I went to go pack my bag, I forget it and all that stuff. And so now I've got the clown nose in my little cabinet in my dining room and all that stuff. And I walk past it every single day, and I'm like, "What's up, Ron? I'm thinking about you. I miss you and all that stuff." And yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that, man. So Johnny Cass is on the bottom. I'm gonna ask you this question. You said you were intrigued by his belt. So the question would be, who is that one opponent you want to face now? That's the first part of the question. Would it be somebody like Johnny Cass to get that belt that he has? And if so, what do you have to say to the guy next to you?
Oh man. I do know that title holds a lot of value to you. And I've seen you defend it valiantly. I've seen you defend it against more than one person at a time. But like I said before, I kind of count as 2-3 people and all that stuff. So I don't know, man. Maybe one of these days we're gonna have to talk to the powers that be, and you bring that title to maybe even Rugged Pro. Lace up the boots, put the title on the line. Because I've been watching you. And
Yeah,
you're pretty.
I'd absolutely.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Johnny, go ahead.
I would absolutely love to do that. You've been one of my favorites since I've actually gotten into independent wrestling and started my journey. The first live full event show that I went to, I'm not sure if you'll remember this or not, but it was at Olwines High School, and it actually was Rugged Pro. The one, I think he went up against Adam Love in a
Tables
match for the Heritage Championship, if I recall. And I think that was where I got to meet everybody there for the first time. And everybody was very genuine. Everyone was cool. Didn't have no problems with anyone. That's also where I got to see this guy called Carver. And he instantly became one of my favorites just because of his get up and everything. The professional wrestler straight out of a horror movie type deal. And also, you know, just meeting everybody there for the first time, and they made me at that time, the moment in time, that wanted to get into the business before, like right out of high school, but things just didn't happen that way. But everybody made me feel comfortable enough. Even I trained with Impact Pro, but the first show that I went to while I was training was Rugged Pro. And it just felt like everybody was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man? You cool? You all right? You know, and if you want, you can do this here. You can set up this there." And I was more than willing to help. You know, I'm all about putting my time and effort into making whatever promotion I'm at complete and comfortable as they make me feel. And it's just for me, it was the best time for me to make that choice and decision.
Cool.
And I do eventually. I'm sorry, real quick. Eventually, I do hope to get to meet you across the ring one day. Also, I wanted to show you this quick too, because I believe you mentioned this before.
Yeah.
It's a picture of him and my kids at one of the shows at HPW, I believe. That's cool.
Okay.
Was a little less hairy on the face.
So who do we need to contact from Rugged Pro? Maybe we get that guy on a podcast and bring you two on with Justin, and we talk business on this podcast of making this championship match happen.
I do know that the main person to talk to is a Mr. Austin Fouts. I'll definitely be talking to him in the near future as well. I know that this Saturday is live from the Forge rather, and I'll be definitely giving him a nice little earful. That way we can get that shiny little belt on the show and on my shoulder.
Oh hell yeah!
Whoa. Are you all right with that, Johnny?
Let's go.
You got that belt around. Let's see it.
I'm all about giving everybody opportunity just as well as they've given me. Is I love competition. The spirit of competition is actually what drives me, and it also is the epitome of the MGC belt that I have. Every year since I've won that championship belt, I have to fit it. And I also had permission from Mr. Dan Lucen, who is the co-owner of the MGC, that wherever I go, I am able to defend it. But if it comes down to where I end up losing the belt and the MGC is around the corner up in Milwaukee, of course, whoever I defend it against pretty much has to go up there and gets to defend it in front of hundreds of people as well.
Awesome.
So what do you think, JB? I think we got like a challenge.
Oh man, I'm about to stir the pot real quick here because I'm going to get this thing hyped up real quick. So, I mean, so like, what kind of match would it have to be for your belt, Johnny Cass? Will you pull the trigger on Angus, or Angus, will you pull the trigger on Johnny Cass? And what kind of match? If you guys had a match, what match would you guys choose?
I think that as the challenger, I don't have the say necessarily. So, Johnny, ball's in your court.
One of the matches I've always wanted to have since I got into this business, and of course, it's the fault of the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian. So I would love to have like a ladder match type deal. Or on the other hand, if it would make it more interesting, have a poll that the fans can choose what type of match it could be. You know, kind of get them involved in it so they can be like, oh, well, I want this type of match or I want that type of match, and whichever poll wins, you know, and they get to see their match.
Austin, if you're hearing this, book this match. Because you know what? I think if they will tear down the house. Let's go. Angus versus Johnny Cass for his belt. Come on. Let's go. Let's get it going.
Austin Fouts, this is for you. We got the two guys below us. We're just fans. We're just podcasters. I will personally be reaching out to you on Facebook. I will give you my opinion.
Hold on a second. Hold on 1 second.
I will give you the link. I think these boys are hungry.
Yep.
I think they're hungry to get their hands on each other. I think Angus Keyser is hungry to get his hands on a belt. I've seen the belt. I think it's very intriguing. It's very cool. Let's make it happen, Angus. You'll be hearing from me either tonight or tomorrow. I expect an answer.
Oh
hey,
my God.
If you're listening, let's bring this to Rugged Pro, this beauty. And let's hang it up about 10 feet, 15 feet high above the ring.
Oh, boy.
Austin
He's
Fouts.
calling you out, Angus. Angus is calling you out, Johnny. Come on. Let's go. Let's go.
How's it feel to get called out, Angus, by someone half your size?
I'm down for it. Dude, when getting into this company, I thought people were going to be intimidated by me. I have yet to meet the guy that has been scared of me or anything. Oh, looks like I'm.
What happened?
I don't know.
You there, Angus?
I think you got scared.
Austin Phelps, if you're hearing this, book this match.
Maybe Austin's gonna be taking over his feed.
Oh, there we go. Shots fired on the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. You hear that? Scott? Hear that, Huge Pop? Man. But if you have the choice, Johnny, to pull that trigger, are you going to pull that trigger? If you have that chance to. You're defending your title, brother. What?
The heel trigger? Or
you would? Yeah, are you gonna bring your boys to Syndicate with you?
Yeah. What's going on?
What? I just might have to have Sin with me for this.
Oh
match.
Man.
You were supposed to be there tonight, weren't you?
I was, but here's the thing. So sometimes unexpected things happen at my work, and I've been able to get off early on Thursdays around 1:30, 2 o'clock, because it takes me about almost 3 hours to Illinois from Dubuque. And today was one of those days where one of the shop vehicles at my job was taken, and usually at around 1 to 1:30 is when I leave to go grab parts for the trucks that we work on at work. Grab mail, drop titles off to like other trucking companies, etc. And the person didn't come back with the vehicle until about 2:30, 2:45. So I ended up staying at work until past 4 o'clock. So if I would have left at 4 from work to get down to there, I would have arrived there at around 7:30, and by that time the show would have been half over with. But I will, however, be down there next week for sure.
I think between you and Angus, that match would be like a really good match. To be honest, in a tables, ladders, or chairs, or even be another good match, a steel cage. A steel cage. You got, You know what I mean? Yeah. I've never seen a steel cage. I've seen it on TV, but I've never seen like a steel cage match up close and person. I think a steel cage match for a title match hasn't been done in a long time since WrestleMania 2, King Kong Bundy and Hogan for the title. That's the last time I ever seen for a title. Huge Pop.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm talking to Austin right now.
Oh, I'm down for that match, man. It could be at Rugged or at the Rugged Pro Show.
Yep. This is also like I want to explain to this too. This title belt is also kind of like I explained earlier, almost like a ticket to go up to the MGC around April of every year to defend this belt, which is really, really awesome. This right here is like the epitome. This is the birthplace of Johnny Cass, and I believe that no matter what obstacles get thrown in my way, I believe with every fiber in my being that I will overcome any odds in any match to retain this.
There we go.
Waiting for Austin Fouts to give me a yes.
Or another good match if it came down to you and Angus, or another match in the future. I got one for you, Huge Pop. Steer this one up, brother. How about you, Angus? Wait for it. Joey Knox in a triple threat match for your belt.
That would be.
I'm just saying.
And I'm always up for the challenge as well.
Well, Austin Fouts is at work right now, so he wants to come on the podcast, so I will be setting that up. What's a good night for Johnny Cass to be available? Every night but Thursday, correct?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much whenever. Thursdays I'm usually down in Illinois wrestling for Power Hour for PWX represent. But other than that, I'm normally free during the weeknights and weekends.
I got an idea. Here's an idea. Johnny or JB, what do you think? If Bouts, Cass, and Angus is available on our Saturday show, let's invite them all on and get this shit done.
Let's do it. I'm down. I mean, Johnny did promise me when I first met Johnny, he would. I want to see a match. He's like, JB or Justin, I want you to see one of my matches. And we talked for almost a good 2 hours when I first met you.
Yep.
You're like, JB, Justin, you gotta see my match, man. I'm like, all right, cool. This could be finally. I get to see one of your matches between you and Angus going for that belt. Like you said, a TLC match, a steel cage match, or even a normal match, a last man standing, something that's gonna stand for a lifetime between you and Angus in a match. Yeah. So Austin, you hearing this, Angus? Let's go. I mean, I think that'd be a good match.
So you have it. Angus, I wish you were able to stay on. I don't know what happened. I will be in contact with you. Johnny Cass, thank you for coming on for this little bit of a debate. Austin Fouts, I hope you're listening. Let's do some business. Let's do some business. And I think if I could speak for Johnny Cass, he's not having any problem challenging Austin or Angus because he feels
better than you, and you know it.
That's how he's feeling. There you go. Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. I'm Scott. This is JB Wrestling for Life. And Johnny Cass, we're looking forward to hearing from you. We'll talk to you guys on Saturday as we do our indie show and SmackDown review. And that's all I have, man. So you guys have a great night. Thank you, Johnny, for coming on. Meet me in the lobby. Don't go nowhere, all right?
Will do.